Overcoming adversity. First thing I'm going to say is try to put these two words together whenever adversity comes up in your life. Adversity equals opportunity. If you just replace that with any upset, and I'm going to describe what adversity means to me, and then we'll go back to that phrase. Adversity could mean upset, something that you didn't want to happen, something that you had not planned to happen, something that gets you in an anxious mood, something that gets you in an extremely panicky, nervous mood, something that actually makes you sad, something that makes you angry, something that drives all of your negative emotions to their peak. So do you have an understanding of maybe what adversity is? I'll give you some examples of adversity in my life, and then I'll broaden it out to other areas in other lives. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a state champion and the junior national champion. I achieved my goal in high school. I was a state champion in folk style, freestyle, and in Greco-Roman wrestling. So that was great. Winning that freestyle and Greco-Roman title allowed me to go to junior nationals. So now I set my outcome result goals on becoming a junior national champion. I ended up going 10-2. Actually, I lost to the same person twice. I might have talked about this earlier. I had 12 matches in a 3-day span. I had 5 the first day, 5 the second day, and the semifinal and the final on the last day. So 2 matches on the last day, 12 matches in 3 days. My goal was to win it. I got beat. To me, as a 17-year-old, I think I was at that time maybe 18. I think it was maybe 18 because it was in the middle of July, likely. My birthday was prior to that, so it made me 18. Anyways, that was a big deal for me. I didn't reach my goal, and it was the end of the summer. There wasn't any coming back. And I'd actually gotten beaten by that same guy earlier in the tournament. So there were 2 adversities that happened. One was, I think I lost to him, maybe like in the 7th or 8th round. I had 12 matches, so every match now there was a ton of pressure on me to continue to, win, so I could at least take a second in my pool. Back in the day, 1 wrestle 2 and pool A and B. So I lost, so I ended up beating the number 1 person in the other bracket, who ended up being later a teammate with me at the Olympic Training Center, which is kind of odd. Nonetheless, 2 types of adversity happened to me. The first type of adversity was, if I lose again, I'm out of the tournament. That was such a stressful type of situation. I didn't even think about losing. I thought about, let me go out here and handle my business because this tournament is mine. That was my mentality. So that adversity was overcome rather uniquely and quickly because I didn't focus on what had happened in the past, me getting thrown on my head essentially. I like to use getting thrown on your head as a metaphor for getting beat. But I quickly, looked at what happened. All right, okay, that sucks. If I lose again, I'm out. I banished both of those thoughts. I did my warm-ups, I got my mind ready, and I went out there and I handled my business, and I made the finals. The second time through, the adversity was immense because that was the end of the tournament. The first time I knew I had a second chance, and that was likely the reason why I was able to get myself together and then come out there and do what I needed to do. And then in the second opportunity, I perceived it as no opportunity or chance. It was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. To make a long story short, I lost that match in the finals, and I was crushed. I was crushed. I was mad. I was angry. I was sad. I was crying after the tournament. I went to the tournament and I cried, for like a half an hour. I didn't watch the rest of the finals because I was just, mentally I was out of it. Okay, so there are 2 examples of adversity. The first time I handled it really well. The second time I didn't handle it really well at all. What's the point? If I would have looked at that as an opportunity and chalked it up as a learning moment and chalked it up as experience and chalked it up as another opportunity for me to, build on what I did not have at that present time, which was psychological skills and mental ability and acumen, being able to ascertain the situation, take it for what it's worth, take all of the learning value out of it, and then move forward. But that's difficult to do unless you have what? Practice and plan for something like that to happen. Okay, so here is the crux, I guess, of the talk that I'm going to try to suggest to you today. How can we turn adversity into opportunity? First, we've got to believe that every adversity that we have is an opportunity. We have to believe that overcoming adversity is a part of our learning and our growth and our development. Without adversity, maybe we never grow. Unique thought. Think about that for a second. Without adversity, maybe it's difficult for us to grow. In other words, if you don't have minor and major setbacks, you may never be tested and pushed and challenged to, raise your bar, so to speak. Does that make sense? If I'm always actually at the top, maybe there's no challenge for me to change anything. right? Does that make sense? There were some things that I needed to change mentally in my mind. Maybe there were some technical things that I needed to change too. So that's why I suggest that adversity can be an opportunity if you look at it as a learning moment, as placing high value in it, as there are things that I need to work on so that I can become even better. If you put it into that context, that's easy. Again, how do you do that? First, I think you got to think about it. And then secondly, I think you've got to plan for greatness. You have to plan for excellence. And then a different type of strategy that you could use would be this. Anytime an adverse situation comes up, I'm going to embrace that situation because now it is my opportunity to learn, to get better, and to develop as a wrestler, as an athlete, as a human being on planet Earth. As you know, again, that's kind of a different way of kind of looking at things, but I put a positive spin on it. Earlier, we talked about, in one of the other videos, we talked about positive habit pattern. I think what I'm getting ready to say next happens to a lot of people. And you may be one of these, or it may have happened to you. It certainly happened to me. You may actually not plan for adversity, and when adversity happens, could be in the form of not doing the way you wanted to on a test, which could be academic or athletic, and this is a little more serious, with your job. You know, you get demoted or you lose your job, or accidents. I've had like 4 knee surgeries. I didn't plan on those things happening, etc. There are all kind of adverse scenarios that can happen in your life, and I'm gonna just real quickly turn all those adverse situations into an opportunity. I blow my knee and I have reconstructed knee surgery. Now it's an opportunity for me to work on my mental skills and get my leg even stronger before I have time to think about and analyze all the things that I need to improve in my wrestling game mentally and physically so that I can become a better student athlete. I lose my job, for instance. What a great opportunity right now for me to provide opportunity for these people out there that may not have the experiences that I've had, like going overseas and being in 20 different countries and having the opportunity to work with Olympic athletes, Olympic coaches, Olympians, and the like. What are some other examples? I get sick. What an opportunity right now for me to rest and recover and regenerate. So now when I come back, I am more attentive so that I can go to class and I can go to practice and I can get everything out of it. I just gave you 3 examples there, but can you see how you can turn things around? And I'm going to give you one example of the other side, because maybe you're familiar with this and you already have a success rate with it. You get thrown on your head in a headlock. You cry and you cry and you cry and you cry, and you never watch the video and you never ask your coach on how to better that situation, meaning learn the techniques to defend it. And it's detrimental to you, and you just feel bad for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and your shoulders slumping, blah, blah, blah. All of those things can happen. Or you could flip over the coin and you could look at it. You know what? I got headlocked, man. That was really painful. Ask my coach, how do I? What are several techniques so that I can learn how to defend headlocks, and what are the setups to headlocks so when I can sense his setup or her setup coming, so I'm ready and available for when that happens. And I'm gonna do that by getting with the coaches. Then I'm gonna work on it after practice and before practice. Then I'm gonna watch film on it. Then I'm gonna put myself in those key situations so that I know I'm getting headlocked, and when I feel it coming, I'm immediately gonna counter, and that makes me feel good. Now I'm ready for the next time I go to a tournament, and my goal is never to get headlocked again. As an aside, I'm going to go back in my little lifespan career. When I was 15 years old, I made the varsity team. I started wrestling when I was 14 years old, so as a freshman. The second year of wrestling, there wasn't anybody at the 105 slot on varsity. I wrestled off and got beat by the returning varsity starter at 98 pounds, so I went up to 105. I ended up having a 16-15 record. Guess how many times I lost by headlock? About 12 times I got headlocked that year and pinned. Maybe not pinned, but they really, I got headlocked in at least 12 times. I think I got pinned about 6 or 7 times. Half of my losses that year came from headlock pins. What did that do though? Man, A, it like messed me up. I thought I was like the worst wrestler ever. But B, because I had the mental resolve to just keep on coming, I never quit, and I finished out the season. I think the rest of my high school career, I think I got headlocked twice from senior year and junior year, because I'd gotten headlocked so many times my sophomore year. I had developed the awareness and the sensitivity and the selection and the precognition and the patterns and the pattern recognition and the anticipation, all of those things that help you maneuver and account for skills that are getting ready to happen. So I developed counters to them. And now when I look back and I'm like, man, that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because getting headlocked so many times made me have to focus on ways to counter the headlock. And the earlier example I gave you was the exact opposite, where they maybe didn't ask questions, maybe they didn't watch film, or maybe they didn't learn anything from it. So anytime adversity comes up in your life, you can learn from it. And I want you to kind of think about this. Start to plan for adversity. Start going through in your mind, thoughts that can happen, and then see yourself coming out on the other end, right? You'll have this a lot within any type of competition with a referee or a judge. They throw bad calls at you all the time. Plan on that happening and go through it in your mind actually before it happens, and then plan how you're going to react. Now, you have to do this over and over and over again before the mental skill becomes really, really strong. In other words, in order for us to get really good at anything, we have to practice. So if I practice in those adverse situations in my mind, when they come up, there'll be less of a chance for me to likely be unsuccessful. And the reality is, you'll have adversity in your life all the time. If you plan for any type of adversity, when those little adversities come up, you're able to deal with it. And how can we plan for that? You know what? I look at adversity as a learning opportunity. So when it comes up, I'm upset and I'm mad, I'm angry for a second, but I take it for what it's worth. I take the learning value out of it so that the next time this opportunity comes up, it is something that I have become capable and aware of, and I know how to deal with it. Does that make sense? Hopefully that does. I'm suggesting to you that you can plant this seed right now. If you get nothing else out of this talk, adversity equals opportunity, and then you've got to plan for both so that you are able to learn and grow. Overcoming adversity. Remember, you can find out more information like this at youtube.com, Coach Shannon, Coach Shannon Talks.